Hi, I'm Kenny Joya. Welcome to another one of my tutorials. In this video, I'm going to show you the tracks in Reaper. Now, as I mentioned in the intro video, this area over here is called the Track Control Panel, or the TCP for short. And if we want to add tracks to our project, we can go to the Track menu and choose Insert New Track right here. Or we can use the keyboard shortcut Control-T on the PC or Command-T on the Mac. Or we could right-click over here and insert a new track from here. Or we could just double-click in the Track Control Panel. That's going to create a new track each time we double-click. And we could delete it just by selecting it and hitting Delete. Now in Reaper, there's only one type of track. So if we're using MIDI or audio or video or bus tracks, all the tracks work the same. So any type of media can be on any track. And we could duplicate tracks by selecting them, going to the Track menu and choosing Duplicate Tracks. Or just right-click it and choose it from here. We could reorder our tracks just by grabbing them and dragging them to different positions, like this or this. And we could resize them based on their height just by dragging them like this or this or this to create different track heights for our project. And we can name our tracks right over here just by double-clicking. We'll name this one Kick. And to move between each track, just use the Tab key. And we go to the next track that easily. And we could also insert multiple tracks all at once. Let's delete all these and go to the Insert menu and go down here to multiple tracks. Or just right-click over here and choose it from here. Insert multiple tracks. And what this is going to do, it's going to create multiple tracks, but it's also going to name them. So let's add from the list, we'll just type it in, 4 tracks. And it's going to auto-name and add the number automatically. So if you want to create 4 vocal tracks, just type in vocal. And then it's going to create 4 tracks already named vocal. Vocal 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's a great time saver. And we could also add colors to our tracks. So we could select this track, go to the Track menu, and choose Track Color. Then we could set tracks to custom color and choose it from here. That adds that color to that track. Or we could do it, let's select multiple ones by right-clicking and go down here to the same menu. Set custom tracks or set our tracks to random colors. And that creates random colors just like this. And if we want to change the color palette on the whole project, just go to the Options menu, to Themes, and choose Theme Adjuster. Then we can switch this to Custom Colors and choose a palette from here, Reaper 6, and readjust the project with one click. We can choose the Pride colors, or the Cool colors, or Vice. And if it's too bright, we could dim them right from here until they're perfect. Now, besides using colors so we could see what's on our tracks, we could also use track icons. Let's rename our tracks to drums, bass, guitar, and vocals. And let's add track icons to these tracks. Select the drum track, go to the Track menu, and choose Track Icon, Set Track Icon. That opens up list of icons we can use. For drums, let's use this one, which is going to put this drums icon on this track, making it easier to see what's on the track. And we can do the same with the bass. Just right-click, track icon. This time we'll choose a bass clef, which is going to look like this. And for the guitar, we'll choose this icon, which looks like this. And for the vocals, we'll choose a microphone like this. So that's going to make it easier to see what's on our tracks. We can use colors, our names, and the track icons. And if we want to hide them, just select the tracks, right-click, track icon, remove track icons. And now they're gone. So let's take a look at the controls on the tracks. Right over here, we have a knob to control the track volume. We can bring it down to make it lower, or up to make it louder. And if we want to use a fader, we can use the mixer instead. Go to the View menu and choose Mixer. We go down here and adjust the volumes with a fader. But if you really want a fader in the track control panel, go to the Options, under Themes, and Theme Adjuster. Switch this to Track Control Panel and change the volume size from knob to make it bigger. Then it turns into a fader, which can be small or pretty big. Let's make it a bit smaller, about 100. Now we have a fader for each one of our tracks. If we want to bring the level of our faders back to the default or 0, we can just double click them. That's going to work with any fader or knob in Reaper. Just double click it to put it back to 0 or the default. That's going to work on panning. We can pan things to the left or the right. And again, we could double click it to put it back in the center or the default. And right over here, we have mute. If we mute the track, we're not going to hear it in playback, but it's also going to save our computer resources. So it doesn't take up any processing with our computer. And we could also solo tracks right here with the solo button, which is going to mute all the other tracks in our project so we can just hear the solo track. And down over here is the polarity or phase button. If we choose this, it inverts the phase or the polarity on that track, which is very useful when using multi-mics on a source, or recording a bass, DI, and an amp. Then over here, we can add effects to our tracks. We're going to go through this a bit later. Then over here is the routing button, where we can create buses or sends. And over here, we have the envelope button, where we can create automation for the different parameters on our track, like volume, pan, width, mute. But we'll go through this more a bit later. And then if we hit the record button, we can see more options, like the input for our tracks, whether it's audio or MIDI. And we can also control the recording modes, which again, we'll go through a bit later. But we don't see those buttons when we take our track out of record, as we're not going to need them. And one of the things that's unique about the mute and solo buttons is you can mute our tracks just by dragging. So you grab the mute button and drag it down to mute all these tracks, or unmute them the same way. Just grab it and drag it all the way back up. And we can do the same with the solo. Grab it and drag it to all the adjacent tracks in our project. But they do have to be next to each other. Now we can group our tracks by going to the track menu and choosing track grouping. But we could also create temporary groups. Just select all the tracks we want to control, holding down Shift, or if they're not next to each other, Control on the PC or Command on the Mac, and just choose the tracks we want. Then we can treat them as a group. So we can move the fader, and the faders move together as a group. The same with the pan, or the mute, or the solo, or the polarity, or phase, and even the record button to go into record or come out. So that's how a temporary group works. But if you want to bypass this temporary group, just hold down the Shift key. Hold down Shift, and I can move this fader, and it's going to work independently from the group, even though all these tracks are selected. Hold down Shift to mute or solo, or let go of Shift, and they're going to behave as a group, or a temporary group until we unselect these tracks. Then they work like normal. So it's a great way of grouping our tracks without having to create a group. Just quickly select them and move the fader or pan or mute or solo or record button that easily. And everything we're doing in this video is also going to work with the mixer. Go to View, Mixer. We can do all the same things in the mixer with our faders and mutes. Let's make this bigger by floating this window. We'll go down here to this tab and drag it to the middle. And that's going to float our mixer. We can readjust the size of our faders. And again, we can adjust the volumes right from here. With a fader, we can mute. We could drag the mutes or undrag them or the solos. We can create a temporary group by selecting them. They all move together. Hold down Shift to bypass that group. We can go into record or anything else we want to behave as a temporary group. So everything we do in the track control panel is also going to work with the mixer. So that's the tracks in Reaper. I hope you learned something, hope you can use it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.
Bye.